By the way, no, I wouldn't do anything because it's live.
Okay, we won't do it. Thank you. Are we already here? You're kidding me. What did you put in it? Look outside. Is it cold?
Traveling to the car.
shouting my name because he don't want to slip. So I just like to know we do. Give me your bank details on that soon.
First frame, Darren Appleton's break, time running.
Darren Appleton wins the lag and gets frame number 1 underway. Good evening and welcome back to this, the semi-final of the grand final. We're zoning in on the big prize. These players have to focus on the game in front of them. They cannot start thinking about holding that big check aloft, otherwise all sorts of things can happen. This semi-final being competed between Darren Appleton, who holds 4 world titles in 4 different disciplines, and his opponent, Adam Davis, also a world champion, 2011 world champion in English 8-ball. Darren dry breaks in the first, and it's Adam Davis at the table. Gareth Potts has joined me on commentary again. Good evening, Gareth.
Good evening.
We haven't seen much of Adam Davis. In fact, he's only played once on this table. He played, I think, a loser's side game against Ian Davey in event 4. Kind of an early morning event. And I don't think Ian particularly turned up for that one, if I remember rightly. So Darren's had quite a bit of table time on the main arena in the last couple of the last 2 days. Probably been on here twice, I think. Is that going to make much difference at in the early frames, knowing the table, knowing the arena?
Yeah, it definitely will make a difference, and I think What also may make a little bit of a difference is, in all fairness, Darren has come through an absolute bloodbath of a draw.
He really has.
You know, today he's beat Malin, Phil Harrison, and then Carl Boyes,
Yeah.
who defeated Hibbert the match before.
Yep.
So, I'm not saying Adam hasn't beat any good players, but
Well, I mean,
I don't think he'll have beat 3 tougher players than that today.
he played Darren McVicker on stream in the first round and came through. Then he lost a hill game against Mark Farnsworth to push him into the losers draw. And then he came through against a very competent Mark Fleming. Then beat Gav Robinson, who was playing very well up to that point.
10 seconds.
Then in losers round 4, he came up against Manchid Omar, who was the guy who played exceptionally well against Mark Boyle the night before, and took out Mark Boyle. So no mug there. Then he had a tough draw against Dylan Leary. I watched the end of that game last night. And then, like you say, this morning, Chris Melling, Phil Harrison and Carl Boyes. And noticeably, those last 2 games went to Hill. So he's played a lot of frames. I mean, already today, he's played 55 frames a pool. And in all fairness to Darren, he's no youngster nowadays. He's certainly not an old man, but he's not as young as some of the guns in here. 55 frames is quite a shift.
Yeah, it is, and there's potentially for him a lot more to be played, but I think he's hardened to playing Q Sports enough for that not to be a factor. It's his job at the end of the day, and he'll know that that's a part of it. Adam played a really good shot, not that shot, the one before, to pop the ball into the corner and go around 3 rails of running side, and he was a bit unlucky to land dead straight, and because he's landed dead straight, he's had to just take his medicine and leave this at distance, and he's going to have to pop the black in the same pocket. And he hit that nice. And that's definitely a shot that is good for the confidence, especially the first frame.
Frame.
One thing, the ref made me jump then, shouting frame. One thing that Adam has got, which is a bit of a trait that he's always had, is he's got a nervous sort of, it's a nervous trait, and I'm sure we'll get to see it a little bit in this match, where he keeps getting up and down on and off the cue. Sometimes he does it 5, 6, 7 times. He did it once there on the black. If you noticed, he got down and got back up. Sometimes he does it, like I say, 6 or 7 times, and it is just a bit of a nervous trait that he's got. And he also does another thing where he rocks side to side before he gets down on the shot, looking at the potting angle, back to the cue ball, back to the potting angle, and he sometimes does that sort of 7 or 8 times.
Yeah,
There's another nervous trait.
It's almost like looking around the corner. You see a few players do it. I know Mark Fleming's another one. He's almost kind of, I mean, we spoke to him about it in an interview, and he said it's just something that is in his game. It helps him focus, and a lot of players do it. They kind of stand there and almost as if they're peering around a corner to look at a shot. Adam
does it sort of really distinctively backwards and forwards, and you can, he's almost weaving side to side like a boxer sort of thing.
Interesting, yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to see it at some point during this match, because he won't have been under much more pressure than he is in this match. I used to practice a lot with Adam when we were both young. We used to play every day, almost every day. And
he's local to the area, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Stoke-on-Trent?
Yeah, Stoke-on-Trent, yeah.
Thought he was, yeah. Of course, the 2011 world champion. I mean, it almost feels like Adam's been around for such a long time, in the game for such a long time, but actually he's still quite a young man.
And he's had a spell where he's sort of been off the radar a little bit, I would say, over the last sort of, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at least. well, probably since he won the world title, really, but certainly the last maybe 4 or 5 years he has.
Still only 31 years old. And 7 years now since he won his world title. So a quick look at his profiles. Adam Davis, nicknames The Nuisance. As I say, 31 years old. He's in a relationship. His girlfriend is actually watching on, Gemma. They've got one girl called Bailey Rose. He used a Britannia Q with a 10 mil Elkmaster tip. There's his girlfriend watching on. And yeah, Elkmaster 10 mil's pretty big for 8 ball, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's above the standard, that's for sure.
He uses a snooker cue, and I'm not sure it's actually playing at 10 mil. It probably would have been 10 mil when he got the cue, but
yeah,
over time, and having new tips and ferrules on, I would probably say, well, I would be surprised if it wasn't sort of closer to 9.5.
Yeah. Of course, the 2011 world champion, 2009 European champion, 2006 International Masters champion, and multiple pro events and UK Tour titles. Started playing when he was 5 years old. He had a table in his bedroom that he got for Christmas, and his dad played in the local league and taught him how to play. His dad, mentioning him, has been his greatest influence, teaching him the basics of the game. His favourite player to watch is Chris Melling, and favourite Q Sport player is Ronnie O'Sullivan, as he's the best snooker player to ever grace the game, in his opinion. When asked what he'd like to achieve, he said he'd already done it, a world champion. So it's just about enjoying himself and providing a good life for his family. He was the first player to play for the England juniors, under 21s, and then the men's team, working his way up the ladder. The best player, best opponent. This is quite an interesting fact. The best opponent he's ever played against, Darren Appleton. Very interesting he says that.
Wriggled in, and one thing that Adam is very good at is doubles. Him and Phil Harrison are the best I've ever seen at doubles on an English table.
Brilliant. 2-0 lead. Well, here we are, Adam Davis in the semi-final, and I bet you could do a poll of all the people watching this event and a poll of the people in the room, and find out how many people mention Adam Davis's name when they were asked who they think is going to win this final. And there wouldn't have been too many, would there? Very capable player who's been at the business end of most of the events, but well, he's got the qualifications to get across the line.
Yeah, and interesting to see what he went for in the Calcutta, because, like you say, he wouldn't have been one of the.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Pre-tournament favourites.
Third frame, Darren Appleton's break, trading 2 frames to 0. Time running.
900 pounds.
So for your £900 stake,
So
in a few hours' time, that could have turned into almost 30,000.
So that's around 15 times less than was played for Mick. So you could buy 15 Adam Davises for Mick Hill, or say 6 Adam Davises for a Farnsworth. That's good value. Darren Appleton went for £2,000. Darren owns himself.
A part of, I think.
A part of himself, yeah, with his cousin.
Yellows in play.
Would have preferred to go reds there, but I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't, to be honest. I think he could have dropped the one into the middle first shot, and if he didn't like that, he could have potted it long into the corner. We've mentioned before, these pockets are playing generous. So, I'm a bit surprised he didn't go reds. Only got one positional shot to play, really, to get onto the awkward yellow, and it does go into the middle, but he has got to play a shot to get on that. Wanted to be straight on this one into the middle, so he could just drop it in and leave the angle on the one into the right middle. But so now he's going to have to pop both of these yellows into the left middle and leave an angle to drift up to somewhere near the reds that are around the balk line.
There is another semi-final going on across on table 11. You can keep up with that action. It's an all-Scottish affair between Liam Dunster and Scott Gillespie. Scott Gillespie currently leads 2-0.
So decided he didn't want to play them both into this left middle, and he's now going to settle for a double. So he's just going to drop this in, leave the cue ball in the middle of the table and play the double. Looks pretty good on it. Don't expect him to miss this, and the white will track around 3 cushions for the black. 1, 2, 3.
Frame.
Good stuff from Darren. You now trails by 1, and it's 2-1. Dynamite. Darren Appleton, age 42. He uses a Jason Owen cue with a Elkmaster tip. I'm not going to go through his list of achievements because it reads a bit like a Wilbur Smith novel. Let's just say he's done the lot. 4 times world champion at 4 different disciplines: 8-ball, 10-ball, 9-ball, and 14-1. And
one noticeable thing there, Nick, is never at English 8-ball.
Never at English 8-ball, no. Also was part of the furniture with the Moscone Cup team for a number of years. 7 times Moscone Cup champion. Just the 7. Started playing at 15 years of age.
Leading 2-1.
After being spotted playing in a local pub, and a landlord asked him to join a local team. Quite a late age compared to a lot of players. A lot of players say they start around 6, 7, 8 years old. But 15 is a very late age to get into the game. And he found success quite quickly after that.
That's 2 big breaks. Adams it. He miss-hit the break. He didn't mean to cut break the front ball, but he hit him with a lot of power, and the yellows couldn't have come out much better.
Yellows in play.
So he'll be clearing one end of the table to the other here. So he's going to play the yellow into the left centre, yellow into the top right, one into the middle, and then he'll leave the one into this bottom right corner, and then the one on the rail until last.
I don't know if you could hear, there was a great big cheer go up in the background, and I wonder what it was. It's not unusual to hear a big cheer go up in a snooker room, but especially when there's an event on. But there's only 2 games, and they're both very early. But it was Liverpool scoring a goal in the 96th minute, and a lot of excited people in the bar, I think. So that was what that was all about.
So again, just about leaving the natural angle, just to, he'll probably just screw the cue ball back an inch or 2. And that is the natural angle, just to drop down dead straight onto this one on the rail. Slightly over it purposely, so he wasn't bridging over the black. Put his hand up there because he did it a little bit fat, but the pockets are playing a little bit generous. It didn't even look like not going in.
3-1 to Adam Davis.
And all 3 have been from the break, I think, haven't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
All 4, sorry.
He's looking good.
And when he's confident, he's as good as anybody under pressure, you know. Adam, that is. Obviously, when you're not confident, that is one of the reasons why you're perhaps not quite feeling it when you're under the pressure. But when he's confident, he's very, very good under pressure.
Let's have a quick look back through Adam's weekend so far. In the first round, he beat Kevin George 11 frames to 1. Then he lost to Brian Halcrow in the winners' first round, lost 11-7.
5th frame, Darren Appleton to break.
And then
Trade
in the
2
losers'
frames
side,
to
losers
1.
round
Time
2, beat Adam Penwell 8 frames to 2. Then he beat Lee Clough 8 frames to 5. Then he beat Rob Chilton 8-4. Then he beat Ian Alley 8-7. That was late last night. That was another very gritty game. I think Ian was 7-6 up in that, and from 7-6 up he didn't get another shot. And then Adam beat Gary Clark, the Irishman, 8 frames to 6. And then this morning, another Irishman in Declan Brennan, 11-7.
Yellow's in play.
And he's just beaten Craig Waddingham 11-6. So he's put in a few frames over the weekend.
Didn't want the cue ball on the side rail there. Because the wall of these 3 reds are just enough to make it a bit of an headache for him. So he's got to be careful that he doesn't either go in off in the middle or snooker himself behind one of them. See, just got away with it. I think when he hit that, his heart would have probably been in his mouth, because he probably would have thought that that was behind the red. Left it a little bit thinner than he would have if the red wasn't over the pocket, making it a big pocket like that.
There we go, 5 frames.
5
played.
clearances.
Yeah, 5 frames played, and well, started off with a dry break dish, and 4 breaking dishes since. Pool of the highest order. It's Adam Davis that leads 3 frames to 2. Cross on table 11. Liam Dunster's got one on the board, and it's now 2-1.
If Scott Gillespie does win that match and gets to the final, you'd have to say quite an unbelievable achievement to get to 3 out of 5 finals. And well, if he was to win it, you know, and win 3 out of the 5 events, including the grand final, you'd have to say that would go down in the all-time great achievements of English 8-ball, I would say.
Doesn't it? Has to. I mean, who else could we think of that's had a...
Well, I think the thing is, you know, people's sort of records of winning world titles, certainly over the last sort of, I don't know, 6-7 years, has been tarnished by the fact that all the players, of course, some of them are not playing, some of them are playing in different associations. There's a load of different so-called world titles, or whatever you want to call it, but
you could say almost diluted.
Almost, yeah, diluted. And, you know, if everyone's sort of, I suppose, calling a spade, is there a real world champion out there at the minute at English 8-ball? I don't think there is. There's a lot of different versions and a lot of good players, but there's not like a unified world champion. And the closest, or, well, the way to, in my opinion, to distinguish who that best player is, for me, is the best player on this series and the player that's dominated and won and done well, or was in number 1 in these rankings, however you want to look at it, because the best of the best have been in this series.
If you think of the field that he's played in, if he does go on to win this, it would almost be like winning 3 world championships in a year.
Well, yeah, and you know, Tech Lion has said there on the live chat, obviously winning this is harder than winning the world title, and I'd have to definitely agree with him. Winning one of these tournaments is by far harder than winning any of the world titles that are around these days, because all of the players are all split up into different tournaments. And to be honest, just for that fact alone of what a season he's had, and obviously how good he's been in these events, I sort of can't help but want him to win, to be honest. Gillespie, that is, because I just think he's been that good this season. It sort of deserves the icing on the cake a little bit.
He left one in the middle.
Oh, it's in.
Doubled it.
Red's in play.
They're even potting him when they don't want to now.
Yeah. Would there have been a reason that Darren wouldn't have taken the one in the middle?
Well, the reason why is he just didn't want to go for the reds, because obviously this red down the bottom end of the table here, yes, it does go into the left corner, but it isn't easy to get on.
Yeah.
So he basically just didn't want to go for the finish.
He's nailed that shot. That's a great
Well,
ball.
he's nailed the shot, you know, Nick, and he has got a perfect ball to get down. See where he's pointing his cue there? There is a path between the triangle of 3 reds. Sorry, the triangle of 3 yellows. There is a path there. See that line there? And if he leaves the middle red of the 3 in bulk, if he leaves that one until his penultimate ball with an half ball angle, he can just pot that with a trace. So he's taking the inside one, then he'll take the one on the other side of the table for definite. So he'll take the one into the right corner now. He'll then see where his tip is, leave that half ball angle with left hand side, and just track the cue ball through that gap.
Never a thought to try and play the one to the right hand side and screw down the right hand side of the table?
No, never. You always want the pace of the cue ball to do the work if possible.
Yep.
So the pace of the cue ball will do the work here. He's just about pace control.
Just finished a touch straight, maybe.
He has finished a touch straight. He's finished with a horrible angle. He's got to almost now play it as like a horrible little punch shot. You can see there where he's pointing with his cue. That's the line that he wants the cue ball to take.
Yeah, you mentioned natural angles earlier. If he could have just finished higher, he could have just used the natural angle to come down through that gap. And now it's he's got to force it. He's got to manufacture the angle. Hasn't he played this well? Goodness
Fantastic
me.
shot. Fantastic shot. And it was a fun. Had he have got the cue ball in the natural place, he would have definitely got there. But because he didn't leave it in the natural place, to still get there was a great shot, because it wasn't a stun and it wasn't a screw. It was a little horrible sort of jabby one. Anyone that obviously plays English 8 ball, certainly to a good level, will appreciate how good that last shot was.
Yeah, incredible. And Darren just gave that black a concerned look, but he was absolutely fine. And he levels things up now at 3 each. And it's his break in the next. The interest mounting again. Local people coming to the club to enjoy. People travelling from far and wide to enjoy the game. The lads on the left-hand side, I think they've travelled from the northeast. You also see, sat chatting in the T-shirt, that's Yannick Beaufils, who's travelled over from France to play in each one of these events. One of the international contingent. We've had players from Morocco, players from Malta, players from Ireland, the Isle of Man, from Scotland, from the home nations.
Yeah, the Irish lad sitting next to Yannick there on the left-hand side. I think it's maybe Declan Hoff, Dylan Hoff, is it? Hoff, his surname? The guy there next to Yannick.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so they play on the Irish national team.
Oh, okay.
All those guys have just come over just to for the weekend, just to watch the tournament. No doubt had a few bets.
Yeah. And I think
Really nice guys, actually. There's Ronan Fay and his father and some of the others that have all come over to watch, and they are really nice guys.
Yellow's in play.
One of my old pals on the live chat, Damien Millwood, go back a long way. He's put evening Mr. Potts had him to win it. Local lad in his own club. What price was he at the start? I don't know what price he was, the outright price. He went for Nick said 900 in the Calcutta.
Extension call.
So that's not a bad return on your money. If he was to win it, I don't know what the outright price was. I would imagine you'd have got a good price.
he's going to be. I mean, I can find out, but he's going to be around about 33 to 1. He's going to be in that kind of region. Just one of those kind of, I won't say overlooked players, but definitely not first on the list when people are thinking about potential winners.
I was having a conversation about that, Nick, and it's strange how I personally think that certain styles of players and their popularity sort of dictates prices and dictates players slipping under the radar. And Adam Davies, for a prime example, Neil Raybone, prime example, Liam Dunster, to a certain degree, prime example.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, they're players that, you know, are not necessarily seen to be the exciting sort of, you know, running around the table type players, but they're the players that get the job done.
You say that. I mean, similarly, the Calcutta, which is just another form of betting, it's no different than a bookmaker, really. Scott Gillespie went for £3,500. Now, when you compare that to Phil Harrison, who went for twice as much, for Mark Farnsworth, who went for almost twice as much, and this is a guy who's already won 2 events. You know, he went for 3,500. It's just feels like almost he could have gone for more. I mean, it's still a huge sum of money, but
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you an example of, you know, 13,000 that was spent on Mick, you know, if you give me that 13,000 to spend, I think you'd have been far better off placing it on players like Adam, players like Neil, players like Dunster, and spread your bet out, and you could have maybe bought 4 or 5 players for that amount of money. And it is players like Adam that do slip under the radar that are obviously capable of popping up and winning the tournament.
you can still get outright prices with our in-house bookie, who is Jed Ronan. You can contact Jed via Facebook, send him a private message, and he'll let you know the odds.
My old pal also on there, Phil Shergold, Kenneth. He's asked when can we expect to see me in this. If the whole series is played to these rules next year, and
Frame.
then who knows, I might make a comeback. And the quality of this match continues.
Scott Gillespie 3-2 up against Liam Dunster.
Ken there talking about the time when he played me in a league match and broke and cleared against me. That's his.
That's the claim to fame,
That's
is it?
his claim to fame. But I do get him back on the golf course, so it's okay.
Darren just briefly stepped away. We will do the same just for a couple of minutes and be back with the action when he returns.
Frame, Adam Davis to break, trailing 4 frames to 3. Time running. Time up, is it? Time running. Extension call.
So back with the action. And it's been pool of the highest order so far.
Red's in play.
Nice shot, Adam. Finds the gap. And just these 3 balls to draw back level at 4 frames each. And this from a Adam's break.
Frame.
4 frames each. And across on table 11, Scott Gillespie leads 4 frames to 2. And very much on track now for that 3rd final. I did say earlier, he's never made a semi-final and not won.
Andrew Breen as well, guy. It goes back a long way. It's on the goes back a long way with me in the England team days in the juniors. He's made a very good point. People are saying, why is safety frowned upon these days? Yeah, it's not. And Andy Breen said it's not frowned upon from players, but wants to be watchable and needs to be open, and the rule set needs to be simple, and couldn't agree more.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, really good point. I mean, people talk about Paul going to the next step, Paul going to the next place, making it marketable. Then it has to be simple to understand. It has to be fast and attacking, because that's what people want nowadays. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all love watching the snooker, we love watching the century breaks, but we do like occasionally to watch the safety battles as well. That's what makes it intriguing. And of course, I think this rule set has a fine balance of that as well. We've seen a couple of tactical battles today, but the good thing is they haven't lasted kind of 45 minutes. There's been a really good tactical battle, and it's just taken maybe 10 minutes.
The first dry break, or certainly one of the first dry breaks of the match, I think this. And it is the first one. Oh, it's not the first one. Frame one. Okay, so frame one, there was a dry break. Since then there hasn't been, but this one was obviously dry, but they were a little bit messy.
I'm taking time to plan the route, as always. Working out.
I think justified here, Nick, because it is a little bit tricky. And what he's going to do is he's going to leave the ball over the right corner to go into the two yellows that are together. He'll go in at pace.
Yeah, he's. I'm assuming he's looking at. Well, so he's looking at coming in the split between the two balls. Not more value in coming in cushion side to break them open, just to bring them away from the rail.
Yeah, it's just that the cue ball might stick. He needs to make sure that he's going to have to play with pace. But oh, very good shot. He didn't play it with pace. He controlled it, and I like the way he played that because he didn't launch into it. And I think the reason why he didn't play it with too much pace is because he thought as long as he doesn't move it too far, there's an option to play the yellow off the red in the middle.
Just looking now whether it goes past the red. May have half a pocket.
Yeah, and
5, 4, 3, 2.
people asking about if this series will be all played to this rule set next year, and I think given the success of this event and how all of the players have loved the rules, then why not? I think they have to be played to these rules. That's criminal to be sure, because he had the whole half of the table to land in.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, massive margin of error.
He'll be mortified that he's landed there, because the cue ball could have been in the jaws of this left corner pocket and he wouldn't have missed the black.
Yeah. Anywhere from 6 inches onwards to, as you say, the corner bag. He's got 3 feet of table to play with there.
He's looking at now playing the black off the rail, off the red, and this will slide more than the other table. You see, he's got that trait now, Nick, where he keeps doing it. Look, if you notice, look.
Yeah.
He keeps doing that side to sort of side action, and he's going to have to be quick.
Yeah, and
be
rushed
fair,
into the shot.
Yeah, the shot clock sort of cost him a little bit there.
Yeah.
But what did cost him was he did that little sort of stutter to the side, which probably used up an extra 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But you know what I was going to say, Nick? You know your point at the start of this where you said, because Adam hadn't really played it much on this table, would that make a difference? And that would definitely slip down off that rail more than one of the outside tables would. So I think that was a shot where he did have to be conscious that he was on the TV table and that he had to allow for the slide a little bit more.
10 seconds.
Extension call.
I just wanted to mention something else that I'm pretty sure we discussed it yesterday, but I just wanted to clarify a point as well, because I got a criticism yesterday for talking about the tables and the pockets being big, and I kind of went over our explanation of it of why the table plays big. Then someone asked me, because Chris Melling was saying, you know, you should. One of his criticisms was that the pockets should be smaller because they're too big. But what he's saying is he's not saying that the pockets are any bigger than any other Supreme Winner table. What he's actually saying is that they play bigger, and that was the conversation we had yesterday. And just to clarify that point, this is based on a standard Supreme Winner template. It's not got any wider pockets. They just play bigger because of the conditions of the table, the newness of the cloth.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Great effort.
I did say he was very good at doubles, and
Yeah.
he found the gap there again between. He would have had half an eye on potting that black off the red, and he sort of found the gap between the red and the pocket there.
So do you think Darren's just going to clear? Well, he's cleared a couple of balls up. Maybe be ducking for cover at the top of the table, because that shot's not done him any favours, has it?
Yeah. Probably going to have to go 2 rails here, because the middle pocket is sort of in the way of the 1 cushion escape, I think. So he's going to go side cushion, top cushion.
10 seconds.
Foul.
Now, having got that,
Yeah.
one tricky red out, it's
Darren will put the cue ball next to the black here and play the red off the red into the middle. Because I think it's a bit fiddly to put the cue ball in behind it anywhere else, so I think he'll definitely play it off the red in the middle. The reason he doesn't really want to move that red by the middle is because that's the perfect ball to get on the black. So he is putting it in behind, but that's fiddly. Like I said, he doesn't. So you.
4,
Ooh.
2.
Darren did this earlier. He's done it in a couple of matches now. He did it against Carl Boys, where he laid a snooker 3, 4, 5 times in a row. He did it to Chris Melling in the match early this morning, where he laid about 8 snookers in a row. And Chris actually said to him, "I'm going to pot it in a minute," and then did actually pot it.
He's left him a shot here, you know. He can go 2 rails and kick this into the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my point. You can't keep giving players of this quality the chances to have a go at the ball. Oh my goodness.
Great effort.
Brilliant effort.
What an effort that was.
So a question for you guys at home. Who do you fancy now?
What about that for an effort?
Just 4 players left in the event. So who is your pick? There's Gillespie and Dunster in one match, Appleton and Davis in the other. And don't forget, guys, as I mentioned during the quarter-final game, if you remember, if you watched any of event 4, what we did is we posted up some of your photos from home of how you watched the grand final. They could be original, unique, or funny, or just a picture of you relaxing at home. We'd love to have them, and we will show them between frames in the final. So send them into the Beard Productions inbox if you've got any. Just bear it in mind for now. Take a safe selfie and make sure it's clear. And we'll show that during the final. Well, we'll show some of them during the final. So get some of those selfies into us. Show us your setup at home. Maybe you've got a pool table there. Maybe you're watching on the big screen. Or as someone put up a picture the other day, relaxing in the bath watching it.
Frame, Adam Davis to break, trailing 5 frames to 4, time running.
Another dry break.
Yes.
Can't play red onto yellow first shot. They can, but it'll be lost a turn.
Extension call.
Can play yellow onto red onto yellow, but that plan isn't there. So he's now just going to play the loss of turn shot, I think. Just play the red onto the yellow, and just leave the cue ball in the jaws, and that's loss of turn.
Alex Firth thinks it's Gillespie. Gillespie again.
So Paul has been having some setups at home being sent in. Well, he's had one there that he showed me. Some guys are out fishing and have sent in their setup.
Fantastic. You can keep them coming, guys. We will be we'll enjoy putting them on during the final. What a way to spend a Sunday. Bit of fishing, watching the pool. The general consensus is Gillespie. Long Dang thinks it's Gillespie. Jody Formosa, Aziz Musalek will think Gillespie. Kerr Richardson, SMIR 421, G Wood, all say Dunster. Jake Hodgson thinks Scott. Bill Deering thinks Dunster. There's a lot of people coming in for the Scots. James York thinks Appleton. Or Tech Lion, the first person who thinks it might be Adam Davis. He's still being overlooked.
And that's the first ball he's missed. But he's missed it and left it over the pocket, which blocks the red going into the left corner. Darren can pot the red over the right corner if he goes cushion first with lots of left-hand side. He'll kick the one and over the pocket, but he chose to screw into it. I think he had a shot there that he didn't spot. He could have almost played the cue ball where the line meets the cushion with lots of left-hand side, hit the first red quarter ball, and the cue ball would have spun into the second red and kicked it in. He's now looking at a plant.
When they're this close together, they're hard to judge.
So Adam gets a second bite at the cherry.
I won't take credit for this one, but someone did spot on the chat earlier in one of the previous matches that this is actually a Adam Apple seventh semi-final.
Oh dear.
People asking a question about the loss of turn shot. It is simply if you hit your own ball first, if you pot your opponent's ball, it's simply loss of turn, and your opponent plays from where the ball lies.
Wants to make sure he's high on this time, so anywhere near the bulk line will do. And he's short, so he's going to have to go around the table, and it's a bad shot to be short. A couple of those shots there where Adams fell short is he's just decelerated through the cue ball a little bit, which means that it killed the pace of the cue ball.
This isn't going to be any good.
Wow.
Nice.
He just looks to all of a sudden look a little bit ropey and a little bit edgy now with the cue ball.
This is a fiddly little cutback, isn't it? It's horrible.
It is, and no, he is. Oh, that looks easier on that camera angle.
It
He's
really
over
does,
it.
yeah.
One thing that I noticed is he's hitting the cue ball really quick. You know, when he's cueing up to the white, he's just pulling the cue back, and it's almost like you can't see it with the naked eye how quickly he's hitting the cue ball those last couple of shots.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a few nerves creeping in. I did wonder, as we get through to the business end, whether that check would start playing on people's minds. I mean, this is money that these players have never played for before. Well, obviously Darren will have played for big pots and big cold cutters in the States and big prize pools all over the world, but some of the others, this really is life-changing money. This is, you know, a big lump off your mortgage, a lovely holiday, a change of car. It really does make the difference. We're not talking about winning £5,000, which you can think, well, that's lovely, I can buy a new house. I mean, Scott Gillespie was saying that he's getting married in 2020, and this would make all the difference. I mean, it just sets you up, doesn't it?
11th frame.
If you don't own your own house, it's the deposit on a house.
Time running.
If you do, it's possibly half your mortgage paid off. Has to play a factor at some point. Has to be in your mind. wouldn't be human if it wasn't. For those of you who play or enjoy poker or have experience of poker, you only need to look at something like the World Series in Vegas. As soon as they approach that bubble, where the bubble pays, they're guaranteed about $15,000, $17,000, and everyone starts tightening up, everyone starts looking at the pay structure, everyone's hoping that somebody else goes out. Who blinks first? It's human nature. People start doing things out of character. They might have been playing aggressive all tournament and then suddenly they start tightening up. Is that going to happen here?
Bad shot. Should have known that that yellow, at the pace he was playing, it could come back in front of the cue ball. Should have either played it a little bit slower or a little bit harder. He should have known.
Twelfth frame, Adam Davis to break, trailing 6 frames to 5, time running.
Danny Jones has just said, pardon my ignorance, but I don't even know who Adam Davis is. Well, that's a fair comment. I mean, you don't have to know who all these players are. I mean, Adam has probably been fairly low-key for the last few years, but he was 2011 world champion, WEPF world champion, and he's been on the UK tour for a good number of years with a good deal of success. UK tours and plays EPA. Has he ever played for the country? I'm not sure. Has he ever been an England player?
Yeah, he has. I've played in the England team with him for quite a few years.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed the last couple of frames with Adam is just on a few of those shots that he decelerated on and under it, he'd started to just really sort of put what we call a quick one in with the cue action. And that does affect, for one, deceleration and the timing in the cue action. It affects a lot of things, and he needs to obviously be careful of that, because he's just started to look a little bit edgy to me, Adam. And Appleton will definitely smell that and pounce all over it if that's the case.
Yeah, he is a predator, for sure. He'll smell any kind of weakness. So there's a good number of people watching, and we recognize that you may have been out, you may have been away, you may have been doing something, or you may have slept through the last couple of days. So I will tell you that we are Beard Productions, and we are covering this Players Pool Events Supreme Pool Series Grand Final. It's the culmination of a lot of hard work and effort. This is the 5th in a series of 5 events that have all been held here in Newcastle under Lyme at Players Pool and Snooker Lounge. Lee Kendall's concept is reaching its conclusion in this grand final. 2 semi-finals in play. Darren Appleton versus Adam Davis. You're watching. Across on table 11 is Liam Dunster against Scott Gillespie. Currently Scott Gillespie is leading 6-3.
And you see how I noticed that he started to put a quick one in with the cue action. I don't know if we can get a replay of this, but that's exactly what he does here. Here we go. Oh, if you watch out, when he pulls the cue back, watch. Just pulls it back, and that was a bit in slow-mo, actually.
Yeah, it was slow-mo. It was quicker than that. I mean,
it was quicker than that.
It was, there was no pause.
There was no pause. He just pulled it back, and that's what happens when you start to get under pressure. You start to put what we call the quick one in. And I'd noticed he's been doing it for a couple of frames now, and I did say he looked under pressure.
And he didn't miss that by a little bit, did he? He missed that by a big margin.
When you're under extreme pressure, which obviously they will be here, it's your fundamentals that need to hold up.
Another one for Darren. taking advantage of that mistake from Adam. And Adam really, I mean, Darren's just going to step out for a bathroom break, and I think that Adam could do well by doing similar. He needs to settle himself, and indeed he is. He's just going to step away, go and get some fresh air.
Frame, Darren Appleton to break, leading 7 frames to 5, time running.
So another dry break. They've a few of them have crept in, but it does give Adam a chance, a sniff, a way back in. Only one dry break in the first 8 or 9 frames. I think it was 9 frames. I think it was then the 10th frame they had another dry break, and the last 3 have gone dry now.
10 seconds.
That's Adam's girlfriend watching on with keen interest. Maybe thinking about the new shoes she can buy with that check. Maybe dreaming of a sunny holiday somewhere or a new car, who knows? Will it be possible? Well, for Adam, hopefully for him, that little bathroom break and just a breath of air for a moment away from the table will help him settle, because settle he needs to do. This is a must-make clearance, and one that he would be clearing probably 10 times out of 10 in practice. It looks straightforward, but the way he's been queuing, who knows? As I say, hopefully that break has settled him.
Just finished the wrong side of this, which means he'll have to probably take the black into the right middle now. Cue ball just seemed to rock into a little finger mark there.
Frame.
Good stuff, and draws it back within one. Somebody on Facebook asking where the other stream is. There is, this game is being streamed to Facebook and YouTube. The other one is only being streamed to YouTube. You need to go across to YouTube and search for Beard Productions. Look at the Beard Productions channel and you'll see both live tables. And if you have any problems viewing on Facebook, you can always do the same thing. Head across to YouTube. While you're there, do please like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and do us a favor, will you? Just share it. There's a share button at the bottom of your screen. It will just take you 2 seconds to click it. Just if you're on YouTube, share to social media, to Facebook, and if you're on Facebook, share it to your timeline. It helps us expand our footprint so people know that we're here, and I'm sure there's people on your timeline who would enjoy watching this. Of course, on the conclusion of these two semi-finals, we have the final, and we will crown the champion. So we've got a great evening of pool lined up ahead. Let's get everybody watching it. Adam Davis to break.
No. Couldn't not go in with those two balls, tracking back with it.
Foul, one shot from behind the break line. Try running. Extension called.
So Darren still has this one frame advantage. He'll be keen to re-establish his 2-frame lead. And it's funny how this is swung. First break was dry, but then consecutive 8 breaks and sharing breaking dishes between them. And now I think this was the 4th dry break in a row.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, Appleton just looks more comfortable to me now, especially these last sort of 4 or 5 frames. As I said, Adam looks like he's putting a few quick ones in with the cue action. He looks a little bit edgy. And although Darren potted that off the knuckle, he does look a little bit more comfortable to me.
Yeah, probably just that much more experience, 11 years older and been in these situations so many more times.
Frame, Darren Appleton's break, leading 8 frames to 6. Time running.
It's So there's been a lot of comments, obviously, here on the live chat regarding the split of the prize money. It is 51,000 to the winner, and everyone is talking about, has there been a split, what's happened? We don't know what's happened regarding any split. All we do as organisers and host of the event is we pay £51,000 to the winner of the event, and whoever wins this event will receive £51,000. Whatever that person decides to do with that money after then is obviously completely their prerogative. So as to regards that, we don't know any more than that, and to be honest, that doesn't really concern us. It's 51,000 to the winner, and that's all that there is from our point of view.
Yeah. And for sure, this is a prestigious event, and every one of these players is going to want to win this title.
Absolutely no doubt. Whether there's been a split, no split, irrelevant of what's happened, every single one of these players will want to win this because it's the biggest tournament, arguably, to ever happen in English 8-ball. So this is where it's at. It's 51,000 to the winner of this tournament, and the winner of this event will get that. What he does with it is completely up to him, and that's our stance on it.
frame.
Another frame to Darren Appleton. He now leads by 3, and it's 9-6, and this is quickly getting away from Adam Davis.
I just saw a little bit, and as a player, Nick, that's something that you look for in your opponent. You look for little sort of traits and little things that you can pick up on and feed off, that he's looking a bit edgy, or, you know, even if he's making balls, he's not potting them clean. And I noticed that, like I say, Adam had just started to look a little bit edgy, and he was just sort of decelerating and putting a few quick ones in with the cue action. And I noticed it, and I'm pretty sure Darren would have noticed it as well. And when you see your opponent sort of starting to do that, because when I say starting to do it, he wasn't doing it at the start of the match. So when you see that your opponent is starting to do that, it does give you confidence, and it does give you something to feed off.
So for Zombies Ain't My Pizza, he's asked a question about half a dozen times, and he's eager for an answer. I can tell you Gareth's opinion on that question, because we've discussed it on a number of occasions, and he's quite vociferous in his response. Should the cue ball be the same size as the object balls? Yes, it should. The only reason it's smaller is so it goes through the mechanism in a pub, and if you want to get away from it being a pub sport, then the cue ball should be the same size as everything else. That's a simple answer. Sorry to put words in your mouth, Gaz, but I don't want to get you started on it, that's all.
No, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that. Might as well use a marble.
Yeah.
As sometimes happens when you're not quite feeling it, or you've started to feel a little bit edgy, or it's not quite there. He's made a ball, but they're a little bit tricky. Well, they are tricky.
So, let me ask a question, your opinion. Darren Appleton has been there, done it, and got the T-shirt, as they say. He doesn't have a world title in 8-ball, in English 8-ball, as we pointed out. His titles are from across the pond, but he really has. He's played at the top of the game, the Moscone Cup. He's done it all. When he came back into this, I mean, I've discussed this with him a couple of times now. When he came back into English 8-ball, I mean, he didn't have huge aspirations because he didn't really know what to expect. But at the same time, he's a competitor. I mean, even making a final has to be huge on his list of achievements. Where does it rank?
On his English 8-ball achievements, it will definitely rank right up there, because, look, you know, Darren did win every other title probably there was to win. It was just the world title was the one that always evaded him. He lost in a final one of the years, and it just never seemed to happen for him at the Worlds. But obviously, make no doubt about it, Darren is an all-time great at English 8-ball, and was obviously more than good enough and capable of winning a world title. It just never happened. He did win, I think, every other title, probably on numerous occasions. But having been away and then coming back to this, if he was to win this, if he was to win this tournament, I would say that it would. Well, it's without doubt the biggest English 8-ball tournament there's been with the field. I don't see how it cannot be, with the field, with the prize money, with everything. So it would definitely be right up there. And to be honest, even getting to the final, given that he's been away for so long and everything considered, even getting to the final would be an unbelievable achievement, I think.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Adams left himself another missable ball, and he's again just put a quick one in again. Just on the take back of the cue action, he pulls it back and then just sort of rams the cue through really quick. there's no pause, and when there's no pause in the cue action, there's no timing.
So Darren, if we look at the tactical shot, is there one here? Maybe, I mean, if these two reds were a bit straighter, he'd be playing the plant and just parking the white in behind the red, wouldn't he? And leaving his red over the pocket and snookering Adam on the black.
Yeah, Daz will definitely miss no tricks here. I think, yeah, the red that's at the bottom end of this table, the one closest to us on the screen, he'll plant that onto the ball over the pocket, get it over the hole, and try and snooker Adam with a red that's in the middle of the table in the same shot. He's looking at playing a snooker, but I don't like that shot because I think it leaves him an up and down. The black goes into the right middle.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
like
at
that.
some point, you still need to clear that pocket, don't you, for the black? So
Yeah, he will play this shot. He just has to cover it. Ooh.
yeah, that could have been better, couldn't it?
Well, he's half blocked the black. And I think he's okay. He's blocked it. Now, I did say Adam was one of the best at the doubles I've ever seen, along with Phil Harrison, and he'll need to be to cross double this.
Yeah, it's going to be a nailed-on double kiss, isn't it?
No, I think he can get the cue ball out of the way, but he's got to play it hard. There you go. He actually got it too thin.
Yeah.
Now, that is only loss of turn, so that's not actually too bad at all.
Just going on, just expanding on the question, touching back on the cue ball and the size of cue ball. Let's say, for argument's sake, Lee decided next year he was going to run the series and he sets the balls with the cue ball the same size as the object balls. How much difference would that make to players? How quickly could they adapt to that? Because we talk about, the dynamics of the cue ball, and Darren's been struggling, having been playing with the much bigger balls. If you made that cue ball bigger, some of these players have been playing for years and years with it. Would it make any difference?
It would make a huge difference, yeah. The array of shots that you could play with a bigger ball, there's a lot of different things that you could do. But and I personally think it would give English 8-ball a lot more credibility from all the other sort of cue sports and the greats of the other cue sports world, including the snooker players and the other players in America and China. It would give English 8-ball more credibility because they can't understand why it is smaller.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's much point in talking any more about it than that, because I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No.
So the cue ball is the cue ball.
Yeah.
10 seconds.
So there's no total snooker, so he can't just go 2 rails and drop onto the back of the black. That would be a foul. You obviously have to hit a cushion after contact. So I think he'll go up and down. Yeah, just to confirm, there is no total snooker. Look, these rules can be tweaked, and I do think maybe on the English 8-ball table it is one to be looked at. This is close. It is one to be looked at to maybe introduce the total snooker. We did speak about this earlier, Nick, and I personally think that maybe you could look at putting the total snooker into it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one slight little tweak you could change to it. But we could sit here all night and discuss the rules of. But they are what they are at the minute, and these two, and the other two in the semis have obviously played very well at them this weekend.
Yeah, there's been feedback from players and spectators alike, so I'm sure it will be taken on board by the organisers.
10 seconds.
It's all a learning curve.
What about that for a point, actually? A total snooker should only occur if your opponent snookers you. If you put yourself in a snooker, then it shouldn't. Food for thought with that one.
That's a pretty good check. Yeah. Clever. He's tried to move the red just above the middle bag and come up short of it. So looks like he's going to have to duck for cover again. But may only be a matter of time before Adam finds his crosshairs.
I think he might have to play the swerve.
Yeah.
There's definitely a case for the swerve.
I'd quite fancy him if he swerved it as well, I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I think he'll get close to it if he plays the swerve. With the cue ball being close to the rail means that you can sort of get 2 or 3 of your fingers on the rail. That gives you a little bit more elevation.
10 seconds.
That angle was never there. But if that red doesn't pass the black into this corner, then that leaves him a little bit to do.
Yeah, it was a good hit because with ball in hand, this would have been frame over for sure, but Darren now has to give this some thought.
If he can't drop this into the middle, which I'm not sure he can, I think he's no, he can't. So I think he's left this where he's going to play it down to try and block the pocket with the black and snooker him with this in the same shot.
Yeah, can't really play it as a shot to nothing because he doesn't want to pot it. Because if he pots it, then he's got no shot on the red. So
does the red pass?
I don't think so.
It's tight, you know.
It is, yeah. Well, that has to. Yeah.
Oh, and you
he's
see why he stamped his cue now, because he's left a skill shot with a free go at it. That if the black stays over the pocket, then the cue ball's going to be in bulk, and Darren plays from where it lands.
So he needed to get that white ball further across by at least another 6 inches. Adam would be looking at sending that white to the top of the table.
Oh, bad shot.
Yeah, that is a bad shot.
Bad shot.
Wasn't even close to the skill.
Wasn't close to the skill, and the most important thing was you've got to make sure you cover the pocket. Because if you cover the pocket, he's only got probably a double, or probably he's only got a full length double if you cover the pocket. Shot. Good pot.
Yeah.
Good pot, and I think that's pretty much curtains now, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was a big turning point, obviously a big chance for Adam to get back into the match, and I think that might be the start of the end sort of thing for Adam, because he just doesn't look comfortable, and to be honest, he hasn't looked comfortable to me since about 4 each, or maybe 5-4.
Across on the other table, it's still nip and tuck. Scott Gillespie just edging it 7 frames to 6 against Liam Dunster. Darren Appleton sizes up his break cue. We saw him switch between his Predator break cue and his normal cue for breaking when we saw him the other day. He's obviously found some success with the Predator, so he's back using it.
Darren Appleton's break, leading 10 frames to 6. Time running.
Great break. Great break. He hit those hard. It's strange because he hit them hard, but nothing seemed to move much.
Yeah.
He definitely hit them hard because the cue ball jumped up in the air.
Lots of people watching across the two platforms, but we would like to get the numbers up, ready for the final. So please do make people aware that this is happening today. If you haven't already done so, please do like and share. If you're on Facebook, like and share. If you're on YouTube, you can click share and it will give you some options. You can share it to social media, share it to your Facebook timelines. That's all we really ask. Obviously has a ripple effect and gets many people out there, gives them the information they need to know this tournament is happening. If you want to keep up to date with the other score, it's on qscore.com, or you can watch that game on table 11. You'll find it on the Beard Productions page on YouTube. And the only other thing to mention is that one lucky winner is going to win a Jason Owen Q worth £500. You just need to open an account with K8.com. Jason is up here and he was carrying the Q earlier on. It looks a lovely Q. In fact, Jason's just in the background there watching on. The Q's valued at £500. He's kindly donated that. And when we're on the subject of Jason Owen, he is one of the sponsors of the event. Along with, and thank you very much to all of those sponsors. They are Aramith, Strachan, K8.com, The Winning Post and Jed Ronan, to Home Leisure Direct, and to our headline sponsor, Supreme, who make this incredible table you see.
And some people on the live chat are asking, is the final straight after the semis? And yes, it will be. It's already running behind slightly, so the final will start pretty much straight after. And asking who is commentating, well, it'll definitely be Nick. I think he's the best in the business. He's definitely as good as I've ever seen. And I'll probably maybe do the second half of the final, and maybe we'll get one of the other guys to come in maybe to do the first half with Nick, and then I'll maybe jump in to do the conclusion of it. And he's played a terrible shot because the black doesn't go into the right middle, so he can't just drop this in. I think he can only drop the yellow in and then play the black off the red into the left middle. I think that's the only shot he has. Just to run this through a little bit. Oh, he's just snicked off the edge of the red, so he can play it direct now. That's quite a good shot, actually. Okay, there's distance between the cue ball and the object ball, but I expect him to get this, as long as he just stays down on it and doesn't rush it again.
He did rush it.
He did a little bit, but he potted it,
yeah.
And that's all that matters. He made it.
frame, Adam Davis to break, trailing 10 frames to 7.
It just shows you how many people were in here last night, doesn't it? I mean, there's still a decent crowd in here tonight, but and there's just a little hum of chatter. And Vivresco really struggled last night with the noise when Chris Melling was playing. I think he was finding it a bit off-putting. So black goes down, and in these rules, it comes out and goes onto the spot, and Adam continues as if the black hadn't gone down. No penalty, which is one of the rules I really like.
Me too. It just makes sense. If he hadn't have made a ball, then the black would have come up and the turn just passes over to Darren.
Yellows look a better ball, but
Where do you put one?
yeah, he's not got an opener.
Red's in play.
And that's as much as he could do.
About that for a shot.
Wow.
He played that because
Yeah.
he played it with running side on the cue ball, knowing that when the cue ball hit the side rail, he wanted it to spin onto the other jaw.
And don't forget that Darren not only needs to make contact with the yellow, he needs to hit a cushion as well. So he not only needs to find the right line, he needs to find the pace too.
Well, he can hit the one on the rail, cushion first, but I don't know if it's any good to him, because how can he not leave a finish? See there, he's looking, he's showing you that he can hit it, but how does he get it safe? There you go, and I don't think he really could.
No. Seven each in that other game. Liam Dunster battling back. Someone asking what the rule is with a push shot in this rule set.
Yeah, you're not allowed to play push shots, so
10 seconds.
and it's the way it should be. Well, at the Chinese 8-ball, you're not allowed to play a push
Yeah,
shot. You have
yeah.
to. So I presume
Yeah.
that these rules are just exactly the same. At the world rules, it used to stipulate that you could play push shots, and it used to state in the rules if played with pace, which is the most pathetic rule I've ever heard.
I mean,
Because
it's horrendous.
well,
What does pace mean?
well, exactly. If I'm playing against you and I play a push shot and you say that's a foul, providing, let's say, there isn't a referee, and
Yeah.
you say that's a foul, and I say no, it isn't. You say, well, yeah, you played that hard, and I say no, I played it soft. Even if there is a ref, and the ref says foul, and I say no, I played it fast.
Yeah.
And she says no, or he says you played it. No, you played it. You played it slow. It was so yes,
As
no.
soon as things are open to interpretation, then
When there's a grey
it's
area,
just not a
then-
rule.
So yeah, you're not allowed to play push shots. This needs to bounce, and it has, just.
Again, that was another one that he had a big margin of error there. Could have played that with another 2 feet of pace and still been okay.
Yeah, and just when you're sort of feeling it a little bit, although he does look a little bit better now, when you're feeling it a little bit, like I said before, the feathers are like the pace control of the cue ball, and because he's hitting it so fast, that was a bit better though. And the black, he sort of took his time a little bit more on.
Frame.
So those couple of quick fire clearances have put Adam right back into this.
Yeah.
If he can nick this next frame or Darren breaks dry, then it's back on serve. Toilet break, so we'll maybe pick it back up once they return.
Nineteenth frame, Darren Appleton to break, needing 10 frames to 8. Time running.
And Darren would have been looking for exactly this. Any kind of dry break or in off, and Adam would have been pouncing and the pressure would have really been on. And albeit Darren would have another break in the match, he wants to close it out here and now. And he won't get a better chance than this. Another thing that Viv may want to consider is that when they call their extension, let the original clock run out, because Darren's lost 10 seconds off his time there.
Yeah, it's a good point. I did think that before, actually. I forgot to mention that. I did see that when Adam, I think, called it like called the extension right on 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, you can call your extension at any point.
Yeah.
You can call it literally as soon as the ball stopped moving, if you like. So yeah, you're right. The time should just be added. The 45 seconds should be added to whatever's left.
Yeah.
Yellow's in play.
The yellow that's just to the left of the line is the only awkward ball, and it's awkward because it doesn't go into the left middle. You can see there, it doesn't pass into the left middle, which would have made this clearance sort of dot to dot, but because it doesn't go into that left middle, it just gives him something to do.
Over on table 11, Liam Dunster has just taken the lead for the first time in the match, and he's 8-7 up.
The players definitely can't complain that they can't hear the referee shouting the time down.
She has been very clear. I think she took a little bit of criticism in one of the events about not being clear with the timing, so she's making sure everybody knows. Assume that yeah, he's going to take this yellow to right corner and just try and land on the red above the 2, just screw back into that red. And you could get through the gap, so. Looks like he's going to have to come around, isn't he? He can't hold for it in the middle.
Yeah, I think he can just top off 2 cushions.
Yeah. Perfect. And it's Darren Appleton.
Yeah, and you have to say, this has been a pretty good performance.
Really, really. Darren Appleton reeling back the years, and that is a solid performance from Adam Davis as well. A great showing, a semi-final for him to add to his CV. I'm sure we'll see him back next year if this series runs again. For now, thanks to Gaz Potts, we'll get Darren Appleton in the interview room, and we'll have a few words from him. It's congratulations to him, and he cements his place in the final. And we just now wait on that result from the other table, which is 8-7 to Liam Dunster against Scott Gillespie. Who's going to be in the final? Who's going to join Darren Appleton? Tune into table 11. Stick with us for just a few minutes to hear Darren's thoughts on that game, and then go watch the conclusion of that All Scotland affair. And then we'll be back with you on commentary for the final just as soon as it starts. Goodbye for now. So now I'm joined by Darren Appleton. Darren, you're through to the final. How's that feel?
Amazing. Yes, like I don't know what it is, but it seems whenever they have like a big tournament for the first time, I've won it. Like in 2008, the first ever World 10-ball championship, and the biggest prize ever was $100,000 to the winner, and I won it. In 2015, they created the World Chinese 8-ball championship, the first one ever, $100,000 to the winner. I won that one. And the biggest ever English 8-ball tournament, £51,000 to the winner, and I'm in the final. It's just unbelievable. I think I'm just blessed that when it comes to like the real main big tournaments, I just something clicks.
Yeah.
I just fight for everything, you know.
Yeah. What about that game? I mean, there was a dry break early from I think the first frame. That was your dry break. After that, there was something like 7 breaking dishes in a row.
Yeah.
Then you both started to break dry. You were kind of trading frames. He looked, just for a second, I mean, in the middle part, he looked a bit nervous. He was putting in, we mentioned on commentary, a lot of quick shots. He was missing a couple that maybe he should have got, but it looked like he had a chance at coming back. The pressure must have been on you at 10-8 there on that break. If you break dry or going off, you know, you could be coming back to the table, breaking for the match at 10-all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Adam set off really well. I thought, and I really rate him. I can't believe no one really speaks about him, about a potential winner.
Agreed.
And then I asked him, I said, how much you go in the Calcutta? He goes, £900. I said, Jesus, I said, I would have bought you. Or like, I would have got someone else to go out with me, because I've got a lot of respect for his game.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's a top 8 player in the world without a doubt, and it amazes me that he goes under the radar. So I'm a big fan of his game. I like his touch, his feel, and plus he's a great guy. So luckily, whenever I've played him in the past, I've always played great against him. So he's one of them players what forces you to play well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in that match from 2-0 down, I didn't have a chance, and then from there, it's probably the best I've ever hit the ball since I've started playing again.
I mean,
like just the touch, the feel. I had the cue ball when I wanted it to. I played some really great positional shots, and I haven't been able to do that all week. I've just been grinding and grinding. Yeah. But that's the first time where I really felt in control of what I was doing.
There was a great positional shot where I think you probably just landed a touch straight on the one into the top left. Yeah. You came across table and back down through the gap. You played it as a kind of stun shot to stun back across. That was just superb.
When I hit that shot, that's when everything changed. Mentally, I just felt as if I was playing 15 years ago. Yeah. It just all clicked, you know what I mean? I was confident then about hitting the cue ball right, putting the white ball in like the tight spots, you know what I mean, when you got to play. Like even the last game, I had 2 or 3 really soft, delicate shots to play where like if you quit, you lose the cue ball, and if you overhit it, I'm going to snooker myself. So yeah, I just felt great in the game. Like you said, at 10-8, it was important to win that game because obviously Adam's like a known favourite here, so start to feel the pressure a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Darren, I mean, you're just reeling back the years.
Yeah,
you're in another major final. I mean,
well, this is the biggest thing. I mean, this is the World Championship. You know what I mean? Forget about everything else. These Blackpool and Bridlington and Bradford. I mean, this is the cream of the cream. They are the best players in the world are here. And I just can't believe I'm in the final after being away from the game so long. But I did secretly fancy my chances. But obviously there's so many great players. But I knew I had a chance in this tournament just because I put a lot of work in over the last 3 weeks. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the final now.
Amazing, absolutely incredible achievement. And we're really looking forward to seeing you in the final. And all I can say is the very best of luck.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Couldn't be a better winner. Best of luck
mate,
to you.
Thanks.
Cheers, Darren. Well, there you go. That's Darren Appleton, and he's going to be in the final. We're waiting for the conclusion of Liam Dunster and Scott Gillespie. They're across on table 11. Why don't you catch up with that game? And we'll be back in the commentary booth watching Darren in action in that final. See you then.